Gurur Brahma, Gurur Vishnu, Gurur Devo Maheshwaraha, Gurureva Param Brahma, Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Chinmayam Vyapyat Sarvam, Trilokyam Sacharacharam, Tatpadam Darshitam Yena, Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Tvameva Mata cha Pita, Tvameva Bandhuscha Sakha, Tvameva Vedyad Ravinam, Tvameva Sarvam Mama Deva Deva, Tvameva Sarvam Mama Deva Deva. Jai Guru. Om Sahana Vavatu, Sahana Bhunaktu, Sahaviryam Karavavahai, Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavai. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. So our first chant are 3 verses from a hymn called Guru Stotram. And I do this out of reverence to my teacher, Swami Chinmayananda. And the second is one of the Shanti mantras from the Upanishads, invoking grace that our study be propitious. So where are we in our text?
We are in the middle of chapter 33. I think we're at the bottom of 122, at the bottom of the page.
I have us on questioner, do you mean to say?
Yeah, that's fair.
Okay. So your book, it's going to be 138, page 138.
Okay. Thank you.
You and I have the same book, which is different.
Okay.
You ready?
All on the same page? Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, help us out, please.
Do you mean to say, questioner, do you mean to say that you have the power to do everything rightly? Maharaj, there is no power separate from me. It is inherent in my very nature. Call it creativity. Out of a lump of gold you can make many ornaments. Each will remain gold. Similarly, in whatever role I may appear and whatever function I may perform, I remain what I am. The I am, immovable, unshakable, independent. What you call the universe or nature is my spontaneous creativity. Whatever happens, happens. But such is my nature that all ends in joy.
So let's stop there and understand from what viewpoint Maharaj is talking from. So he is in a full state of yoga. He is not identified with any personal sense of self. So when he uses the term I, he means consciousness itself, which is ultimately the only doer. Everything is a synchronous cosmos. It's all perfect in the end. So how do you or I come to that? We must first of all silence the tyrannizing, indulgent part of the mind. I call it the inner 2-year-old. You know, I don't want to eat my broccoli. I want ice cream. And all we do is sophisticate it and mature it. That's the indulgent tendency of the mind that's driven by likes and dislikes. That's what leads us into bondage. So in the early stages of our sadhana, we endeavor to stand back in the viewpoint of the witness, Sakshiva, and not feed those voices. Just let them be, let them be. And the way to heal the mind is to get out of the mind, and the volume level turns way down. Then we can begin to trust the intuitive part of the mind. So the Sthita Prajna, the person of steady wisdom, has no idea what they're going to do from moment to moment. I mean, you don't make plans. You may make a plan, but it may not work out. There's no attachment to the outcome of events. No regret for the past. No worry about the future. Then our equipment, the body, mind, intellect, becomes the hand of God in the world. Any thoughts on this?
That's what I want.
Yeah. Have you studied any Adi Shankara at all?
Not, yes, but not knowingly.
My recommendation is you might get a lot of value from probably one of his most important texts. It's called The Crest Jewel of Discrimination.
Okay.
Vivekachudamani.
Okay.
After class, I can give you a copy of it.
Okay.
This takes us through the process of how we become adhikari, a fit student. So we can let go of all those kleshas, all those afflictions. Now, one of the things he says, success in spiritual endeavors is entirely due to the degree of the qualifications of the fit student. Other factors, such as time and place, and I would even add the guru, while incredibly important, are fundamentally secondary. We must do the work. Let me give you an example from the world. So you, I assume, as what you were sharing with me before class, have some expertise in body alignment and work like that. Correct?
Yes.
Okay. So if Howard were to come to you for some alleviation of some pain, and he did nothing that you suggested,
Like many people.
huh?
Like many students, yeah.
Oh, and he could say, oh, yes, I'm going to be so healthy because I study with Natasha. Is that going to do him any good? Hmm?
No.
Yes. So this is one of the ideas that many of us have about a guru, which doesn't serve us. We must do the work. There's no escaping that. Krishna is very clear about it. A person raises themselves by themselves into the self.
Jim,
Yes.
can you remind us what kind of beliefs might hold us back in terms of like time and place?
Oh, I can only attain self-realization if I go to the Himalayas. Can't do it in Oakland. You know, or I have to get up early to get to the office. Therefore, I don't have time to meditate in the morning. Are you okay?
I'm great. Except for that. Yeah, everything's cool. Now I know how light that chair is.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Or things like, well, I'm going to do all my worldly stuff first. I'm going to have a family and make a lot of money. And then when I get ready to retire, then I'll do sadhana. You know, now these things can be efficacious. One of the things that Paramahansa Yogananda used to say, ashrams are for weak lovers of the Lord. If we have a hard time committing ourselves to sadhana, right where we're at, going to an ashram can be helpful. You're laughing. Why?
I'm just surveying the scene at Amritapuri, basically. I'm just, yeah, I can relate. I mean, it's a little bit broad judgment, but I can see the elements,
It's helpful.
Yeah.
It's helpful. I went and did 2.5 years in an ashram. It was useful.
Oh yeah.
But then you leave the ashram. And you have what your own karma brings to you. And you still got to deal with it all.
Yeah.
There's no escape. No escape. So it can be useful. I mean, notice Shankara does not say, while important. I mean, he does say, while important, but fundamentally secondary. And I'm working with a young man, and his whole family are devotees of Meher Baba. And he's just now 14 months clean and sober. He was a drunk for 15 years. All he did was love Baba. But he lied, he cheated, he stole, drank, screwed over people. But Baba, 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 Baba. You know, doesn't work that way. So the idea that got in the way was, oh, Baba's going to do it all. And the Guru Kripa is incredibly important. But what it should do, if we're open and truly surrender, is we have the yoga balam, the power of yoga, to start making the changes in our lives. And that brings us to tapas. One of my favorite sutras from the Yoga Sutras of Patanjali. Have you studied those?
Yes,
in the second chapter, the first sutra. I'm an old man, let's see if I can remember this. Tapas swadhyayeshwara pranidhana kriya yoga. Tapas, which is usually translated as austerity. Swadhyaya. In the Raja Yoga tradition, it means actually an inventory of our inner psychology. Taking a good look at our shadow, good look at what our character assets are. And then Ishvara Pranidhana, trustful surrender to God. This is called Kriya Yoga, which is yoga in action. Now, the way we apply it is you peel it from the inside. So first comes a clear understanding of what our kleshas are. Is this a word you're familiar with, Natasha?
Yes.
So defilement, affliction. You know, what are the things that get in the way? And they basically boil down to just two things. My attachment to experiences gained through the senses, and my identification with some personal sense of self, usually starting with the body. I'm my body. And our willingness to begin to let that stuff go. Then we go back to the earlier part, tapas. Tapas literally means heat. And what happens is we have habituated flows of thinking, some of them for lifetimes. And what we need to do, understanding why I'm so screwed up, in the end doesn't help a whole lot. We've got to have the commitment to begin to change the mind into more auspicious modes of thinking. And in the end, we even drop those. Oh, but this is impossible. That's correct. That's why Ishwara Pranidhana. That's why we need God's help. Or Ama's help. Doesn't matter what name you use. It's all the same in the end. So this is the work you and I have to do with the help of God's grace. Is that useful?
Yeah.
No shortcut. There's no magic pill. There's no magic pill. It's like saying, oh, I have an infection, but this medicine tastes terrible. Howard, I'm going to pay you $20 if you'll take the medicine for me. Will that work?
I'll feel great.
I won't get well. Won't get well.
Yeah.
We have to do the work. And when we have a powerful guru, we can get lost in that romantic ideal. I don't have to do anything. They're going to do all the work. And there's some truth to that. But the truth is, if we're truly surrendered, we'll do what they suggest. Not just get high on the Shakti. Important point. All right, going on.
But such is my nature that all ends in joy. Questioner. I have a case of a boy gone blind because his stupid mother fed him methyl alcohol. I am requesting you to help him. You are full of compassion and obviously eager to help. By what power can you help him? Maharaj. His case is registered in consciousness. It is there, indelibly. Consciousness will operate. Questioner. Does it make any difference that I ask you to help? Maharaj, your asking is a part of the boy's blindness. Because he is blind, you ask. You have added nothing. Questioner, but your help will be a new factor? Maharaj, no, all is contained in the boy's blindness. All is in it, the mother, the boy, you and me, and all else. It is one event. Questioner,
Let me stop there. So does miraculous healing happen around Mahatmas, yogis, and things like that? Of course it does. And not all the time. But do they, from the standpoint of ego, say, Howard, you're a good guy, I think I'll go heal you. Natasha, not you. No. And I think the clearest example of how it works is a story from the Christian scriptures. So there's a story that Jesus is walking along the road with his disciples. And a woman comes up behind him. And what the scripture says is she has an issue of blood. She was probably having chronic vaginal bleeding. And she touches his robe from behind. And Jesus stops and he turns around and says, "Who has touched me?" And I love the next line. For he had felt power go out of him.
Hmm.
So it's just like what Maharaj is saying. He did nothing, and he, the infinite, does everything. And it was a spiritual gestalt. It was the woman's openness and readiness and faith and her time for this and the profound emptiness of Jesus. So, for example, I suspect all sorts of miracles do happen around Amma, don't they?
Yeah.
She doesn't do it. It's the goddess who does it through her. And I bet she says that too. Or she is identified with the goddess and then says, yes, I do everything. Am I wrong?
No.
Yeah. But that's very different than when you and I say, I'm going to make dinner tonight. See. Going on.
questioner, you mean to say that even our discussing the boy's case was predestined? Maharaj, how else? All things contain their future. The boy appears in consciousness. I am beyond. I do not issue orders to consciousness. I know that it is in the nature of awareness to set things right.
Okay, let me stop there. This is again for Natasha. He's speaking in Marathi probably, and this is all translated. And the translator uses the word consciousness to translate the word Chaitanya, which we could say Prakriti, the nature of universal mind, the stuff out of which all this is made. He uses the word awareness to translate Chit, the ground of being, which is immovable, which does nothing. Is that clear?
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
Most Western texts will use consciousness and awareness interchangeably. A slight distinction here. All right, going on.
I know that it is in the nature of awareness to set things right. Let consciousness look after its creations. The boy's sorrow, your pity, my listening, and my consciousness acting. All this is one single fact. Don't split it into components and then ask questions. Questioner. How strangely your mind works. Maharaj. You are strange, not me. I am sane. I see things as they are, and therefore I am not afraid of them. But you are afraid of reality. Questioner. Why should I be? Maharaj. It is ignorance of yourself that makes you afraid and also unaware that you are afraid. Don't try not to be afraid. Break down the wall of ignorance first. People are afraid to die because they do not know what death is. The Jnani has died before his death. He saw that there was nothing to be afraid of. The moment you know your real being, you are afraid of nothing. Death gives freedom and power. To be free in the world, you must die to the world. Then the universe is your own. It becomes your body, an expression and a tool. The happiness of being absolutely free is beyond description. On the other hand, he who is afraid of freedom cannot die. Questioner. You mean that one who cannot die cannot live? Maharaj. Put it as you like. Attachment is bondage. Detachment is freedom. To crave is to slave. Questioner. Does it follow that if you are saved, the world is saved? Maharaj. As a whole, the world does not need saving. Man makes mistakes and creates sorrow. When it enters the field of awareness, the consciousness of a jnani, it is set right. Such is his nature.
So let's use another worldly example to illustrate what he's saying. So at one point, all of us were prepubescent, 8 years old, 9 years old. And then as we got a little bit older, our bodies went through this incredible change. I suppose someone can grieve the death of the prepubescent body. But you went nowhere. In you, the inevitable change of the body happened. Where is that 8-year-old gone? We don't grieve it. Some people do. Oh, I'm losing my hair. Oh, I'm sagging. Intelligent people don't. Going on.
Questioner. We can observe what might be called spiritual progress. A selfish man turns religious, controls himself, refines his thoughts and feelings, takes to spiritual practice, and realizes his true being. Is such progress ruled by causality or is it accidental? Maharaj. From my viewpoint, everything happens by itself, quite spontaneously. But man imagines that he works for an incentive towards a goal. He has always a reward in mind and strives for it. Questioner. A crude, unevolved man will not work without a reward. Is it not right to offer him incentives? Maharaj.
Let's stop there. In truth, Self-realization is inevitable for everyone. The dharma of a human being is self-realization, God consciousness. Two ways to look at it. Do you exist? Oh. Are you aware of what's going on? Oh. I am, I know. No one doubts that. No one lacks that. On top of that is superimposed my spiritual ignorance. I think I'm the body. I think I'm a personality. That feeling, that spiritual impoverishment, I'm not enough, there's not enough, is the fruit of that ignorance. And it's the nature of the mind to want to be free from it. I may think it's drugs, sex, and rock and roll, but eventually the mind begins to become aware, maybe all those scriptures are true. Or we have the great merit to meet a jnani, a person of knowledge, a Mahatma. We get a sense of, oh, what's available. But it's just like a river, eventually going to the sea. There isn't anybody in the world who isn't spiritual. What about Adolf Hitler? Was he spiritual? Yes. He was seeking Krishna just by the wrong methods. And his suffering will turn him towards the truth. It may take many lifetimes. But everybody makes it. Everybody makes it. In the end, you can't mess it up. You can't be a fallen yogi. You can only do that temporarily. If you deviate too far from the Dharma, what happens? It hurts. And then my own desire to be free from suffering brings me back to the path. It's an inevitability. Going on.
Maharaj. He will create incentives for himself anyhow. He does not know what to grow. He does not know that to grow is in the nature of consciousness. He will progress from motive to motive and will chase gurus for the fulfillment of his desires. When by the laws of his being he finds the way of return, nivritti, he abandons all motives, for his interest in the world is over. He wants nothing, neither from others nor from himself. He dies to all and becomes the all. To want nothing and do nothing, that is true creation.
Amen.
To watch the universe emerging and subsiding in one's heart is a wonder. Questioner. The great obstacle to inner effort is boredom. The disciple gets bored. Maharaj. Inertia and restlessness, tamas and rajas, work together and keep clarity and harmony, sattva, down. Tamas and rajas must be conquered before sattva can appear. It will all come in due course, quite spontaneously. Questioner. Is there no need of effort then? Maharaj. When effort is needed, effort will appear. When
Yes.
effortlessness becomes essential, it will assert itself.
Have any of you ever been around a woman giving birth or even an animal giving birth? Yes, no?
No.
No.
It's a wonderful thing to see a new life appear. There's a lot of effort that goes into it. It's hard work and painful. I don't know how many women once labor starts and I've changed my mind. Do they have any choice at that point? No. The body has its own intelligence, its own prarabdha, its own karma. It will do what it will do. Such is the movement of the mind towards the infinite. It will happen. And even dying is the most natural of processes. It's like pooping or coughing. The body knows how to do it. Nothing to be afraid of. Nobody fails at it. Going on.
When effortlessness becomes essential, it will assert itself. You need not push life about. Just flow with it and give yourself completely to the task of the present moment, which is dying now to the now. For living is dying. Without death, life cannot be.
And this is, he's such a poet. What this means is let go of the dead past. Stay out of the unborn future. Be present to the now, which then dies, and then there's a new now. If that dies, then there's a new now. Going on.
Get hold of the main thing, that the world and the self are one and perfect. Only your attitude is faulty and needs adjustment. This process of readjustment is what you call sadhana. You come to it by putting an end to indolence and by using all your energy to clear the way for clarity and charity. But in reality, these are all signs of inevitable growth. Don't be afraid, don't resist, don't delay. Be what you are. There is nothing to be afraid of. Trust and try. Experiment honestly. Give your real being a chance to shape your life. You will not regret it. And that's the end of the chapter.
Any thoughts on this before we go on?
I mean, I think is that okay? I just go? Yeah.
Yeah.
I think this is kind of the crux of so much in a spiritual life, I think, because it's related to at least for me, like the juxtaposition between responsibility and surrender, or effort and effortlessness. And that's just like, for me, it's a forefront question constantly and currently, and probably why I'm here right now. So it's just, I'm a serious like doer person, like achiever person in recovery kind of, and then bringing in as much surrender, learning about surrender as much as possible, And so, and it's like, well, how this effort with spaciousness, or it's very, it's extremely poetic, it's beautiful. I can feel it internally, like I can feel the truth. And at the same time, like when it comes to the everyday decisions or choice points, it can be very confusing.
Okay, let me see if we can break this down. So what I'm going to share with you comes directly from Gita. So first chapter, Vyasa, our poet, sets out what Arjuna's problem is, his disintegrated personality. Chapter 2, I call it the table of contents chapter. He sets out all the main ideas that he's going to cover. And then it ends with this beautiful, I think it's 18 verses on the Sthita Pragya Purusha, the person of steady wisdom. Then Vyasa takes us way back to the beginning, and we learn about karma yoga. A lot of people poo-poo it. I had another student, or karma yoga, that's sweeping in the ashram or helping in the kitchen. No, it's much deeper than that. So in chapters 3, 4, and 5, we see 5 elements laid out, which I think will help you. So first, act in the world. We do not get freedom by refraining from action. That's called suppression. And Arjuna tries it. Well, I'm going to go off to the forest and meditate. And Krishna says, don't be a wuss. I'll tell you what's going to happen. You're going to go in the forest and you're going to try to sit, and all you're going to be doing is thinking about the war you're not fighting. And people are going to call you a coward. No, because he's all ego identified. Not making this up. This is what he says. So we act. How are we going to act? Ride the horse in the direction it's going, according to your inherent latent proclivities. He uses the word swadharma. Now, in old-timey days, are you a brahmana, a kshatriya, vaishya, shudra, whatever? We can subtleize that. What are your natural tendencies? So obviously you've put a lot of time and energy into study, into healthy body stuff. And you're going to make it any better if you learn to be an IT person. Does that make sense? Yeah, this is where your natural tendencies have led you. It's fine. Now, how are we going to do that? Third element in the yajna spirit. Yajna means sacrifice. So there's beautiful poetry around that. But the basic point of it all is don't act in the world for the service of my own ego. How much money am I going to make? What are people going to think of me? I've got the most fantastic website. How many students do I have? Yet I can go to a party and tell people how fabulous I am. That's all to feed the ego. Krishna will say, you're cooking food for your own use rather than for the God and having the prasad. So we do this in the spirit of sacrifice. Who do you work for? You work for the Lord. Who are your clients, your customers? What do you call your patients? What do you call them? Clients?
Clients and students. Yeah.
They are Krishna. You are Krishna Das. You are the servant of Krishna. You are Amadas, servant of Amma. Every single one of them is Amma. You're getting the tone of that idea of service, so that you will be happiest when you're not feeding your ego and you're serving others. So what do? We exhaust our proclivities without our vasanas, without creating new ones. Fourth element. Krishna says, thy right is to work alone, never to its fruits. You may decide to do a workshop. You're planning on maybe 10, 15, 20 people showing up, and 2 people show up. All right, Lord, that's who's supposed to be there. And you do the work with no attachment to the fruits. You know, you work with a particular client for them to change something profound in their life and the way they walk and move. And they don't practice and they don't change. Sound familiar? All we can do is the work. We are never attached to the fruits. We give that to Krishna. He says, I am the karma paladata. I am the giver of the fruits of action. And the fifth element, the most subtle, but incredibly important, our renunciation of the sense of agency. So there are 2 ways we can look at it. Gita will use the language that it's guna and karma. It's the qualities of mind and the force of the past. Meaning, you did what you did in the past and you could have done no other. No regret. That was what your karma was. And in terms of what are you going to do tomorrow, you're going to do what you're going to do. And in a sense, it was all written when you popped out of your mother's womb. Will you experience choice? Of course you will. But why have I chosen what I've chosen? Based on my desires and the quality of the mind. Why do I want all that stuff? Force of the past maturing. That's all it is. The other way to look at it, which is what Maharaj is saying, is I do everything. It is the Lord that's doing everything. It's all connected. So there's no personal Jim or Natasha or Howard doing the doing. We will not regret the past, nor wish to shut the door on it. We did what we did. Is that useful? I can make it up. That's pure Bhagavad Gita. But it's worked profoundly. So we'll use Amma as an example. So she's a little girl and she's having all these mystical experiences and she's deeply absorbed in the self. And then I don't know which came first, her Devi Bhav or her Krishna Bhav. Yeah. Why did she do that? I tell you, there was no little girl there choosing it. She could do no other. And then it changed and she does Devi Bhav. And now what's she do? She sits there all day long and hugs people. It's amazing. I've been to the ashram in Kerala.
Cool.
Yeah, I was 10 days there in 94.
Oh.
It's just amazing. It's just amazing. But there's nobody there, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Yeah. God, at the end of the day, she was all sweaty and her hair was all bedraggled, and like it's like people stomping on her all day long, But always just compassion, compassion, compassion. It's amazing. It's amazing. And then one of the things I saw that was just fascinating. So here's a woman of the deepest realization. And what we should learn to do is ask the right questions. People would come from all over India and Western people. Amaji, should I go into business with so-and-so? They used her as a fortune teller. Oh, should my son marry this girl? That's stupid. Am I making sense?
Yeah.
I'll tell you what questions to ask. What is my bondage? How has it come about? How does it continue to exist? How do I get out of it completely? What is the not self? Who is the real self? And what's the process of discrimination between the two? That's Shankara's. Yoga Vasishtha's 3 questions. Who am I? What is this world? How has it come about? Those are the questions to ask. If you have questions. Sometimes the best thing to do is just open and surrender to the Guru, who can then show you the awakened state of mind. Again, going back to Christian scripture, I can't remember which gospel. I think it may be John, but I'd have to look it up again. So Jesus is been, scourged and all that sort of stuff, and he's in front of Pontius Pilate. Pontius Pilate, and the scripture says, "What is truth?" And then the scripture's silent. I always have the fantasy that Jesus just looked him right in the eyes. Tuned him up. And then Pilate says, "I find no fault with this." But the politics were different. It's fascinating. Sometimes the question is not answered in words. All right, going on.
Chapter 30.
Chapter 34. Mind is restlessness itself. There is no such thing as peace of mind. Mind means disturbance. Restlessness itself is mind. Examine closely, and you will see that the mind is seething with thoughts. It may go blank occasionally, but it does it for a time and reverts to its usual restlessness. Questioner. I am a Swede by birth. Now I am teaching Hatha Yoga in Mexico and in the States. Maharaj. Where did you learn it? Questioner. I had a teacher in the States, an Indian Swami. Maharaj. What did it give you? Questioner. It gave me good health. Excuse me. It gave me good health and a means of livelihood. Maharaj. Good enough. Is it all you want? Questioner. I seek peace of mind. I became disgusted with all the cruel things done by the so-called Christians in the name of Christ. For some time, I was without religion. Then I became attracted to yoga. Maharaj. What did you gain? Questioner. I studied the philosophy of yoga and it helped me. Maharaj. In what way did it help you? By what signs did you conclude that you have been helped? Questioner. Good health is something quite tangible. Maharaj. No doubt it is very pleasant to feel fit. Is pleasure all you expected from yoga? Questioner. The joy of well-being is the reward of Hatha Yoga. But yoga in general yields more than that. It answers many questions. Maharaj. What do you mean by yoga? Questioner. The whole teaching of India. Evolution, reincarnation, karma, and so on. Maharaj. All right, you obtained all the knowledge you wanted. But in what way did you benefit from it? Questioner. It gave me peace of mind. Maharaj. Did it? Is your mind at peace? Is your search over? Questioner. No, not yet. Maharaj. Naturally. There will be no end to it because there is no such thing as peace of mind. The mind means disturbance. Restlessness itself is mind. Yoga is not an attribute of the mind, nor is it a state of mind. Questioner. I did derive some measure of peace from yoga. Maharaj. Examine closely, and you will see that the mind is seething with thoughts. It may go blank occasionally, but it does it for a time and reverts to its usual restlessness. A becalmed mind is not a peaceful mind. You say you want to pacify your mind. Is he who wants to pacify the mind himself peaceful? Questioner. No, I am not at peace. I require the help of yoga. Maharaj. Don't you see the contradiction? For many years you sought peace of mind. You could not find it because a thing that is essentially restless cannot be at peace. Questioner. There is some improvement. Maharaj. The peace you claim to have found is very brittle. Any little thing can crack it. What you call peace is only absence of disturbance. It is hardly worth the name. Real peace cannot be disturbed. Can you claim a peace of mind that is unassailable? Questioner. I am striving. Maharaj. Striving too is a form of restlessness. Questioner. So what remains? Maharaj. The self does not need to be put to rest. It is not at peace, it is peace itself. Only the mind is restless. All it knows is restlessness, with its many modes and grades. The pleasant are considered superior and the painful are discounted. What we call progress is merely a change over from the unpleasant to the pleasant. But changes by themselves cannot bring us to the changeless, for whatever has a beginning must have an end. The real does not begin. It only reveals itself as beginningless and endless, all-pervading, all-powerful, the immovable prime mover, timelessly changeless.
So what happens? In the end, the flow of thought is not problematic. There are times when the mind ceases its thoughting. That can be of value in those moments when you can have space between your thoughts and the attentive faculty is turned within. You can directly see there's nobody there. It will give you a glimpse of your essential nature. The problematic part of the mind is only three ideas. First, I think I'm a person. I think the phenomenal world is separate from me, inherently joy-giving and misery-producing, and the compulsion to make efforts. That's what's problematic. Those three ideas are rooted in spiritual ignorance. So what Maharaj will probably later in this chapter say is, find out who you are. Get out of the mind. Quit believing your mind. I like to use the metaphor, if you go to the West Oakland BART station and you look down the tracks, you see the tracks meet in the distance. Better not get on the train, it's going to crash because the tracks come together. No, tracks are parallel. That's an illusion. Seen, but not real. Take that attitude towards the phenomenal world and towards your mind. I can't think a real thought. Brahma Satyam Jagan Mithya. Brahman alone is real. The phenomenal world is illusory. What appears as name and form, just as Maharaj was saying, is nothing but consciousness. All right, next one.
Questioner. So what should one do? Maharaj. Through yoga, you have accumulated knowledge and experience. This cannot be denied. But of what use is all this to you? Yoga means union, joining. What have you reunited, rejoined? Questioner. I am trying to rejoin the personality back to the real self. Maharaj. The personality, Vyakti, is but a product of imagination. The self, Vyakta, is the victim of this imagination. It is taking yourself to be what you are not that binds you. The person cannot be said to exist on its own. It is the self that believes there is a person and is conscious of being it. Beyond the self lies the unmanifested, Avyakta, the causeless cause of everything. Even to talk of reuniting the person with the self is not right, because there is no person, only a mental picture given a false reality by conviction. Nothing was divided, and there is nothing to unite. Questioner. Yoga helps in the search for and the finding of the self. Maharaj. You can find what you have lost, but you cannot find what you have not lost. Questioner. Had I never lost anything, I would have been enlightened. But I am not. I am searching. It is my very search. So, is not my very search proof of having lost something? Maharaj. It only shows that you believe you have lost. But who believes it? And what is believed to be lost? Have you lost a person like yourself? What is the self you are in search of? What exactly
So
do you
let me stop there. It's more like you come home, you unlock your front door, and you put your keys in your jacket pocket because you've got to rush to the bathroom. And then you take your jacket off, throw it on a chair, and head to the toilet. Later in the day, you hang the jacket up and you have forgotten that you put the keys in your jacket pocket. Later that evening, you decide you're going to go out. So you put your jacket on and say, where did I put my keys? You look all over the house for your keys. But you haven't lost your keys. Your keys are right there in your coat pocket. You just forgot what you already have. So we get nothing new. How many times do I do this? Who sees the phone? I do. That's yourself. You do not get a new self. There's no self up in the sky that I'm going to merge with. My problem is, on top of that direct experience, I have all these wrong ideas. And the bija vasana, the seed attachment, is I think I'm the body. From that, all the rest of the ego nonsense proceeds. Okay, we'll do a couple more.
Have you lost a person like yourself? What is the self you are in search of? What exactly do you expect to find? Questioner, true knowledge of the self. Maharaj, true knowledge of the self is not knowledge. It is something that you find by searching, by looking It is not something that you find by searching, by looking everywhere. It is not to be found in space or time. Knowledge is but a memory, a pattern of thought, a mental habit. All of these are motivated by pleasure and pain. It is because you are goaded by pleasure and pain that you are in search of knowledge. Being oneself is completely beyond all motivation. You cannot be yourself for some reason. You are yourself, and no reason is needed. Questioner, by doing yoga, I shall find peace. Maharaj, can there be peace apart from yourself? Are you talking from your own experience or from books only? Your book knowledge is useful to begin with, but soon it must be given up for direct experience, which by its very nature is inexpressible. Words can be used for destruction also. Of words, images are built. By words, they are destroyed. You got yourself into your present state through verbal thinking. You must get out of it the same way. Questioner, I did attain a degree of inner peace. Am I to destroy it? Maharaj, what has been attained may be lost again. Only when you realize the true peace, the peace you have never lost, that peace will remain with you, for it was never away from you. Instead of searching for what you do not have, find what it is that you have never lost. That which is there before the beginning and after the ending of everything. That to which there is no birth nor death. That immovable state which is not affected by the birth and death of a body or a mind. That state you must perceive. Questioner, what are
Let's
the
stop there. We'll pick this up next week then. Where are we in our book?
Bottom of 128 in my copy.
Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadhaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Sri Guru Pyo Namaha. Hari Om. Om. That's it.